Welcome back to the Wisdom from the Cradle series. Today I am joined by Genevieve, chanter, midwife, wife and new mother, and daughter of a priest. Genevieve comes from a family deeply rooted in the Orthodox faith and has kindly agreed to share some of her wisdom and experiences with us today. So previously we talked about your early life in chanting. This conversation will be focused more on your vocation as a midwife, the spiritual and practical dimensions of that calling. So I'll just open up with, how did you first become interested in midwifery?
I've always really been drawn to babies, as many young girls are. As a little kid, I remember I think both my older sister and I would read my mom's old midwifery textbooks for fun and for the pictures when we were little, because we were fascinated with them, and we just we loved birth and were fascinated by it. My mom is a midwife as well. She didn't practice after she had us, except occasionally every now and then for a friend's birth. But she did it before she had us, and I saw two of my younger siblings being born. So I grew up more familiar, I guess, with birth and specifically midwife attended birth than your average American little girl.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was always, something that was normal in my home, and always something I was drawn to, but I never thought I would be a midwife.
Okay. Was it a particular moment or an experience that really made you realize that that was the path you wanted to pursue?
No, not one thing in particular. I grew up loving pregnant women and babies. I was always drawn to pregnant women. I was always secretly hoping that my mom's friends would invite me to their births with her. And that happened once when I was a young teenager. I think I was 14.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. But still didn't think that I would be a midwife. I don't know. I thought my older sister would be. And I don't know, maybe I felt like it was hers, maybe more than mine. But as I went to college and was just learning what I was going to do, I was really drawn to mission work. Even not specifically related to the church, because there was a time when I, thought that maybe, I don't know, I wasn't sure where I stood with God. But I still felt called, on a humanitarian level, to the least of these. And so for a while, my plan was to complete my undergraduate degree, then go to med school, become a doctor, and do something like Doctors Without Borders.
Okay.
But I always really wanted a family. I always hoped to be married young and have lots of babies. And so I just didn't know how that was going to work. So many years of med school, so much money to make back. It didn't align. Also, the math and science, whatever.
Yeah.
But I was always drawn to the medical field, I felt. Always very interested in it. And honestly, it kind of feels like enough people told me I should pursue midwifery, or doula, some sort of birth work. That eventually I was like, this is exactly what I should be doing. Yeah, and I don't know why it took me so long to realize. I mean, I was young still, I wasn't.
This doesn't freak me out. I don't find it entirely gross, so yeah.
Yeah, no, I really love it.
Do you feel like your upbringing in the faith played a role at all in that, outside of your mom's influence, but just the church in general?
Yes, because I think that within the church, we find the concept of sacred space, which I don't think we see so much in the wider Western, at least, world. Sacred space, and also the concept of mystery. Mystery and moments where we're invited to maybe peek behind the veil just for a moment. I think that, the church absolutely fosters those. as part of her life. And that's exactly what I find in birth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the perfect synergy, between growing up in the church and growing up experiencing birth that way, not the obstetrical emergency, the sterile field and bright lights and beeping machines,
Families separated in one room.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
days. Sometimes. It's like,
yep.
Okay. Midwifery is such a kind of a unique blend of science and skill and soul. So let's kind of talk about how that comes together. What does being a midwife actually look like on a day-to-day?
Lots of counseling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I guess there's a deeper relationship between a midwife and her client, pregnant mother, than between like an OBGYN and a patient. Because midwives look at the pregnant mother in a holistic way. We attend to her entire life. We counsel her on nutrition, exercise, relationship, spirituality, maybe, depending on the client and the relationship. But yeah, it becomes a very close relationship because this woman is choosing you specifically to be with her at the most intimate and harrowing moment of her life. And she's not assigned to you, like through insurance or because you're part of the practice, where she's been getting her well woman care. She's choosing you because she wants that relationship with you and because she knows that you would be the best support to her in that time, that time of intense need. So that allows for kind of a closer experience with the women. But the day-to-day, it's a lot of counseling. We do the medical stuff like, vitals and using a Doppler to listen to the baby's heartbeat and taking, blood work and IVs and whatever. And then there's being on call, which is also difficult because you're not, in a home birth practice, you're not working at a hospital. You're on call for your clients for a 5-week period, and they could have their baby anytime, and you have several clients at a time. So basically live your life on call 24/7, which is difficult. It's really difficult because you don't know when you'll be called. You don't know what you can plan. You don't know what you can commit to in your life outside of midwifery because at any time you may have to drop it and run to a woman's side.
You mentioned the medical side. What, like the relation with the OBGYN, what happens when maybe your opinion or your knowledge kind of conflicts with the OBGYN? What's your advice to that woman in that situation usually?
Well, typically a woman is only going to be referred to an OBGYN if something comes up during the course of her pregnancy that's outside of the scope of midwifery. Okay. So for us, our job is to determine who's a good candidate for a home birth, because you don't want a woman who's going to be higher risk to have a home birth because it's not safe. It's safe for low risk women. It's safer than the hospital for low risk women who are healthy. So during the entire pregnancy, we monitor so closely to ensure that every woman stays low risk and avoid the possibility of an emergency at the birth. Makes sense. But if something comes up during the course of care, when we might need to refer to an OBGYN, because other than that, they wouldn't be seeing an OBGYN during the pregnancy.
Okay.
Unless something special comes up. And then often our opinions do collide. But all we can ethically do is provide our recommendation to the woman and practice informed consent, which is telling her the risks of such and such treatment or course of action, telling her the benefits, telling her the alternatives, and allowing her full autonomy.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not so much a, God forbid, pressuring them or coercing them to do something.
Yeah, that would be entirely unethical. Yeah, no, the woman's autonomy is is at the forefront. It's incredibly important that she take ownership and responsibility and be given ownership and responsibility over her body and her baby and her birth.
What are some of the hardest challenges midwives face, like, spiritually, emotionally, like even physically, in regards to trying to help these women?
I haven't figured out yet how to overcome fear, fear of an emergency, fear of a bad outcome. Yeah. Because they do happen. They happen at a lower rate at home, so it's incredibly rare. It's much more common to see something happen in a hospital, where you're expecting some sort of adverse outcome. But I think some midwives have found a way to move past that. But it's always there, I think, the spirit of death, not in a freaky way, but the spirit of death I think, comes to every birth. Yeah. And yeah, but it's scary. It's scary. It's a lot of responsibility, but it's what you get, I think, for being allowed to step into such a sacred moment, such a thin place between life and death.
You haven't experienced, like you said, like that kind of tragedy yet.
Yeah.
What about the midwives you've learned from? Have any of them ever like kind of, hey, this could happen, here's how you best prepare yourself for it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think different midwives have done better or worse jobs of moving past that in their own practice, because when something bad happens, then you can either do the work to heal from that yourself, and continue to practice diligently and responsibly, or you can see that event in every woman and baby, and always be expecting something bad to happen or looking for something bad to happen or acting out of fear, and I've seen both. Okay. And I think it takes a mighty amount of work to move past it. I do, but it's important.
Yeah. Besides the most obvious, the person you're supporting is the mother and the unborn child or children. Yeah. But is there support the midwives provide for other members of the family? Like maybe if they have other children or even the husband?
Yeah. I think that birth done right, whatever that means, is family-centered.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Because obviously the mother has the final say, in whatever happens, whoever is there. And the mother's experience is absolutely the most important. But it's a profound event for her husband, and if she has other children, for them as well. And yeah, it's a privilege to be invited to be part of that, to kind of step into their family circle, and invite them to circle around the mother. Because, they may have different levels of trepidation, or if they've been told a different story about birth, I guess the common cultural view of birth is that it's terrifying, and it's horrible, and it's painful, and it's bloody, and it's an emergency. So of course that's a terrifying thing to undertake in your own home, happening to the person that you love the most, your wife or your mother, for the children. So it's a privilege to invite them in to, help educate them somewhat, to talk through any of their fears or presuppositions or concerns, and kind of teach them to be the mother's support during birth, so that they can really feel like a part of the experience, and the mother can be supported by the people that she loves the most.
Do you feel like Western culture is kind of misconstrued birth giving in a very negative way?
100,000,000,000%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's a huge disservice to not just to women, but to everybody, because, I mean, you grew up fearing birth, and then when you have a wife, you're scared of birth, and she's scared of birth, and you're afraid. You don't even know what you're afraid of, but I guess ultimately you're afraid that she's going to die or the baby's going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's such a negative portrayal of something that is so natural, designed to work, and so sacred. Yeah, it's a real missed opportunity, I think, a lot of the time.
So out of curiosity, have you ever had to deal with multiple birth?
Yes.
How was that compared to just a single birth?
It was triplets.
Triplets?
Triplets at home.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you know beforehand those?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
That
Oh,
would've been-
thank God. Oh, my gosh. Can you imagine? I saw an episode of Call the Midwife where that happened.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my gosh. That would have been so funny. Yeah, no, triplets at home. So, which is not to be taken lightly or undertaken casually. Twins can be done safely at home with proper monitoring during pregnancy to ensure that both twins are healthy. But a twin birth at home is really not more dangerous than a singleton, just one baby. There are just a couple extra risks to look out for and to be prepared to manage if they arise. Triplets, though, that's 3 babies. Yeah, it's a lot. So we had the top experts on breech and multiple deliveries in the country come.
Oh wow.
And they were a part of her care prenatally. And she ended up in the hospital briefly, did some monitoring, but she just kept being healthy. The babies kept being healthy. They all looked great. They were doing wonderfully. And so we planned for a home birth. I was only assisting, I would never undertake that by myself. But yeah, we had a midwife who goes all over the world with Doctors Without Borders and has delivered hundreds of breech babies, hundreds of twins, several triplets. Yeah, so she was in very good hands. This wasn't just, just your average home birth midwife. And then 2 midwives on top of it, several assistants. So we were well staffed. Yeah. Yeah. But it was incredible. It was incredible. This mother already had 5 children. Went from 5 to 8.
Oh, one day.
Yep.
That's amazing. That was pretty incredible.
Yeah. Triplets at home, right? Who knew you could even do that? But I mean, she just had a baby, then she had another baby, then she had another baby.
Yeah.
Literally. That's
on this path. Have you had different reactions from like non-Orthodox when they heard you're, pursuing being a midwife versus maybe the Orthodox?
I don't think so. No, I think there have been varied reactions within the church as well as outside of it.
Okay.
Yeah, because people come into the church and, they don't necessarily adopt a different framework for how they interact with the medical system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, I think our parish is particularly crunchy, so we have, we have higher than the national rate of home birthers in our parish. But that's just because we're the crunchy church. I don't know why.
How many women at our church have done home births? Do you know?
Maybe we have half a dozen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, maybe more.
Mm. So, kind of want to get in now the actual spiritual dimension of this, this field. How do you see God being present during childbirth and the way that y'all are working in that moment?
Well, we can't do it without him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, for the mother and the midwives, really. I mean, there are so many times at a birth where, the only thing we can do is pray. Not because, like, we're in an emergency situation, it's out of our hands, you know. We're equipped for emergencies. Obviously, prayer is part of that equipment. But more so in the woman's despair, and to use the biblical word, travail, you know, in this great intensity. She learns that she can't do it through her own strength. And, you know, having just given birth for the first time myself, I can't tell you how sincerely I mean it that you cannot do it on your own. Like, I actually feel like I didn't do it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not quite sure how to describe that, but I don't think we're meant to do it on our own without God. And I think that, it's an act of God that it even happens. But at the same time, it's the most mundane thing that's happening all over the world, you know, every day. So many times. It's the most mundane and transcendent event. And as a midwife, I think, I can't imagine not praying at a birth, based on the mother's preferences. That may be in private. It's usually in private.
Yeah.
But I beg him for his help. And more often his mother, actually. I pray to the Theotokos a lot, the helper in childbirth. Yeah. You know, I take that little icon with me in my pocket. And to Saint Olga.
Alaska?
Yes.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, she was the midwife. I credit her for the safe delivery of my son. And I frequently ask her to take my hands and work through me.
That's a very interesting new saint. For anybody who doesn't know about Saint Olga, please look her up. She's an incredible person. Her story is a very deep and incredible life. Yeah. Very hard. What has midwifery taught you about, patience, humility, sacrifice, different bits of the virtues?
It might be easy, I don't know, maybe first starting out as a midwife or, as an apprentice. I started out as an apprentice, of course. It can be kind of easy. I recall one birth where I had, been to several dozen births already. I had lots of skills. I felt like a valuable member of the team, and I kind of felt like I had a handle on it, and that this was such a fun thing to be a part of, getting to see babies be born and to be a part of it, and I guess kind of feeling valuable, almost like I'm needed, like I get to usher life into the world, which I don't. And that at that exact birth, there was a complication that occurred, and I had no clue what to do.
Oh no.
Zero clue.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I was just assisting, and the midwife and the other assistant jumped in, and they had much more training, and they handled it perfectly, and everything was wonderful. But that rocked me, because I realized I was not prepared for that. I wouldn't have known what to do. I feel like I do well in emergencies. I don't freeze up or panic. Usually I almost I don't know, it's weird to say that I like emergencies, but I don't know, I guess I like the adrenaline, and the instant decision making and acting. I considered being a paramedic briefly before midwifery because of that. But that birth humbled me, and taught me that I didn't know anything, and that it doesn't have that much to do with me. You know, I'm not like the glamorous baby catcher, you know? I show up and I help all these poor women who couldn't do it on their own. No, it's a privilege to get to sweat alongside a laboring woman, and to support her in any way I can, which is not that much because ultimately she has to do it herself. You know? And it demands sacrifice of you. You know, you have to get up in the middle of the night, leave your warm bed and your sleepy husband and drive out to the middle of absolutely nowhere, to be with a woman. And maybe it's a false alarm when you go back home. It's a lot. It's a lot of miles on your car. It's a lot of wear and tear on your body. Yeah. But it's a privilege. And if it gets too hard, you shouldn't be doing it. But it definitely calls for sacrifice. You have to leave events that you want to attend. You know, you can't plan trips if you have a woman who's due at that time. So I think it's a sacrifice not only for a midwife, but for her family.
Yeah.
You know, and I've thought a lot about that as I start to have children. You know, I don't want my children to feel like they come second. But ultimately, the family does have to sacrifice to have a mother who's always being summoned away, you know, to other mothers. And I'm not sure what that balance is, and I hope that I find it.
I don't know what else you said, but you can ask.
No, it's fine.
Not whatever else.
So since the birth of your own child, have you returned to work, or are you still kind of recovery, or?
Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
I was going to a couple months ago, but anyway, just to assist another midwife, but the baby came too fast.
Yeah.
But I'm planning to go back in the fall, probably October, November. I'm going to help at a friend's birth as a doula in October, and then I'll probably go back to assisting in November and, hopefully get my own practice off the ground. Slowly, yeah.
So even though you haven't returned back to work, do you feel like your view of midwifery's changed since your own?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. My view of birth specifically, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever tell another woman to relax. I thought about that while I was in labor. I was like, I cannot believe I've said this to women. Relax? What? That's horrible. That's a rotten thing to say.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No. Yeah.
Science is golden. I can't now. I'm figuring it out.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Relax. No, there is no relaxing. I mean, you have to. You have to relax, but oh my gosh. Yeah. Don't tell anybody that.
Yeah.
Say something more constructive.
So, in those intense moments, do you feel like prayer is a little more natural? You don't need to put as much thought into like what you're going to pray about. It's just sort of like spur of the moment, or do you kind of still do like a formal type of prayer in that situation?
It's a lot of begging.
A lot of begging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Desperate prayer.
What would you say to Orthodox women who are considering midwifery as a vocation? Or
yeah.
Just throw it out there, even non-Orthodox.
Yeah.
Because, you know.
Yeah. I think that you have to, I almost think that you have to want to do this more than anything. Not anything, but, you know. I don't know. I almost think, I don't want to be dramatic about it, but I almost think you should try to say no. You know, and see if there's anything else that that calls to you.
Okay.
As a path. And if there's not, then trust that it's midwifery.
Okay.
Yeah, but try to take God with you. Because, yeah, you can't do it without him, I don't think. Don't want to know what that would look like.
Yeah. Like we were talking about earlier about how like the West in particular has like a different view of childbirth compared to like more traditional cultures. What would you want Orthodox families, especially converts, to understand better about childbirth and the role of the mother?
A few things. One is that for a mother who doesn't have other health concerns or other health issues, same goes for baby, that the safest place for that baby to come into the world is where the mother is most comfortable.
Okay.
And for most of us, that's at home, in our own environment, surrounded by the people we love, surrounded by the smells we love, surrounded by the germs that are our own.
Yeah.
I mean that. We're not meant to be born into a sterile environment. The baby's microbiome for the rest of their life is impacted by the environment that they're born into. And they should be born into what their family is familiar with.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. That may sound a little funny, but I mean it. And that birth is meant to be holy. And it's holy, it's beautiful, it's intense, yes. But yeah, it's something that is designed to work. Your body is designed to know how to go into labor on its own without drugs. Your body is designed to produce the endorphins and oxytocin that help you bear it. And your body is designed to grow a baby that it can deliver, on your own without intervention, except in obvious rare cases. There's always that caveat. Yeah. I don't know. Call me. We can talk about it. Yeah, but yeah.
So if you had to kind of sum up the heart of midwifery in one sentence or even a paragraph, what would it be?
Well, the word midwife means with woman. With woman. And that's why I think it's a work designed for women to do.
Of course.
Our husbands are great, and I wouldn't want to be without my husband during that time, but a woman instinctively wants to be surrounded by women. Women who have done this, women who know how a mother needs to be supported. There's something about the community of women with their sisters that we deeply need, because we know one another in a way that, there's always there are always some disconnects between men and women.
Of course.
Of course, we're designed that way.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be. Thank God.
Yeah.
But in a time of need like that, a woman knows what you need.
Yeah.
I guess. And we're meant to have that community, that sisterhood. And I think for me, I think I'm deviating from what you asked. I'll get back to it. But when I was giving birth, or even before when I was contemplating giving birth, and, the terror of what's ahead of me and the dread, which are real, I was so comforted by the thought that so many other women have done this. Almost every other woman has done this, has gone through it. Every woman in my lineage until me has done it. My mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great, all the way back. They have all done this. And until the past, 2 generations, maybe my mother and grandmother, they all did it at home.
Okay.
naturally. So there's that too, that community of women that have done this, and therefore I can do it too. Okay, I know that somewhat deviated from your question. You said the heart of midwifery, but yeah, I think it's being with a woman through the whole transition, pregnancy, birth, and then entering into motherhood. I do think that's part of a midwife's call, as well, to support a mother in that transition. And to just walk alongside her.
Because you kind of see in the secular world pretty much where it's like, now it's not always like this, but like if the family isn't really all that active in helping her, the pregnant woman's almost kind of left to her own devices during that time. And I do wonder if maybe that's kind of a cause for why some women are just like one and done, and it's, it's like you're left at home by yourself. You're kind of, or God forbid, you actually have to go to work, do a 9 to 5 at 8 months, and it's just like almost no support from the family, almost no support from even coworkers and colleagues. And then on top of that, like you mentioned, you end up at some hospital with a bunch of noises and smells that are unfamiliar and people you don't know, poking and prodding. And I can't blame women who are just like, yeah, I don't want to do this again. It's
absolutely, yes, you're entirely right. Yep. The root of all postpartum mood disorders, postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, etc., is isolation. It's isolation. Yes, women are so isolated in motherhood, and we can't do it alone. Yeah, that's entirely true. Yeah, I mean, I would not want to repeat that experience either.
Yeah.
If I went through the conventional system, the way that we're told we're supposed to do it.
I think it also kind of points out, not to get too deep in social criticism, but the American nuclear family, I think, is probably one of the biggest lies of our culture, is like the nuclear family being this good thing. For thousands of years, we had multiple generations living in one household, or at least within walking distance of each other. So a woman who just gave birth would have, her mother, maybe her mother-in-law, sisters, whatever, cousins, who are at hand, able to help out.
Yep.
Whereas nowadays, it's like your parents might be multiple states away, and they're only going to see their grandchildren maybe a week at a time.
Yeah, and anybody who comes to visit wants to hold your baby and be entertained, and and all you should be doing is lying in bed and holding your baby. You shouldn't be hosting people. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, we need to be surrounded and cared for during that time. Because the healing is manifold. It's physical, of course. It's a great deal to heal from. But also the emotional experience of having given birth, and then the baptism into motherhood, was never meant to be undertaken alone.
Yeah. So, is there any last words you have about midwifery before we finish this part of the interview?
I mean, I don't want people to think I'm a fanatic. I thank the sweet Lord for the modern medical system, and I would never want to practice home birth in a place that was remote and far from hospitals. I fully rely on them when they're needed, but I don't trust the medical industrial complex to serve women on an individual basis. Care needs to be individualized, I believe in mothers having the final say in what's right for them and for their babies.
Okay. So in our final conversation, we'll talk about your own experiences of marriage and motherhood.
Let's kick the quarry.
Oh, wow.
The rock quarry.
That was
Yeah.
perfect timing.
Motherhood.
Da-da-da-da. In our first two conversations, we talked about your early life, your role as a chanter, and your work as a midwife. This part will focus on your life as a wife and mother, and what you've learned from through those experiences. Is there any info you're comfortable with sharing just to start off? Yeah, how old your child is, stuff like that.
Yeah, so I've been married for 2 years. Got married in May of 2023, and I had my baby April 30th. My little son Oliver. So he'll be 4 months next week. So he's 3 months and 3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So has that time gone by kind of quick for you, or has it been?
Yes and no. It really has. Like, I can't believe he's about to be 4 months. I feel like I still have a newborn. And at the same time, I can honestly hardly imagine my life before him.
Yeah.
I guess.
How did you and your husband actually prepare yourselves spiritually for marriage itself?
Let's see. Probably primarily by reading. We were directed to read some books. And that was really helpful. We also received premarital counseling, and that was helpful as well. And then we wanted to get married for so long. We're always praying about getting married. We wanted to get married. I remember I started to pray to include Saints Joachim and Saints Peter and Favronia in my daily prayers. At some point. Yeah, when I knew that's what was ahead of us.
Well, how long was y'all's courting?
Gosh, it felt like forever. It was 3.5 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, because after about a year, we were like, okay, let's get married now. But our spiritual father and my parents were like, let's not get married right now.
Right.
Yeah, and that was very difficult. It was very difficult. Yeah.
They want you to spend more time discerning each other.
I was very young.
Okay.
Yeah. I was only 18 when we started dating.
Okay.
And he hadn't even joined the church when the first time he asked my father for permission to marry me. So my dad was like, let's get you baptized first. I mean, he was a member, of course. He was a catechumen, and or honestly, maybe not even. But he was committed to the church, I guess. But my dad was like, let's do this in the proper order. Very reasonably. Yes, of course. And also because I was so young, and because they knew, particularly my spiritual father, knew I had aspirations to go and do a lot of things. He wanted me to spend some time on my own. He sent me away, actually, for a while.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he told me I had to leave.
Oh, to see how y'all, reacted.
He wanted me to have separation from my boyfriend, but also from my family.
Okay.
Yeah, which was very interesting because that's not how I was raised. My parents would have been perfectly happy to keep me in their home until I got married if I wanted that. They didn't believe in the modern American idea of once you're 18 you fly the coop and you go out and make a way for yourself. But my spiritual father wanted me to to have some experiences in the world.
Okay.
And kind of fun for myself a little bit. So I did.
How did you react to that for the first, going from being in a very full house to on your own? Kind of a shocking experience, or?
Well, I always wanted to leave. I thought I was going to go out and do grand things and travel the world and maybe drop by every 18 months or so to say hello to the folks, which is funny considering my life now. But, but I was ready. But I went, and I moved in with another family, so I was still still experience a family life, just not my own.
It's not you, right?
Yeah.
After the wedding and finally moving in, what was those first few months like, adjusting to now you're living with somebody who, yeah, you're married too, but it's not somebody you grew up with. It's not somebody you know.
It felt very. It wasn't a difficult adjustment, but nor was it like, I don't know. I guess I expected bliss, you know? I guess I expected it to be very exciting.
Yeah.
But what it really felt like was the deepest contentment. It pretty much instantly felt like, oh, this is what we were supposed to be doing. This is exactly how it's always been meant to be, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is how life should be. It just felt so right.
So that feeling of pressure, wanting to go do grand things and go into war zones and help give babies birth, and that kind of like went out the window a little bit.
It still tugs at my heart, and I wonder why I was given that desire, and then given my life as it is now, I guess, how it's unfolded. And of course, nothing's forever.
Yeah, of course.
But that's not a call of my husband's. Yeah, I don't know what purpose that was meant to serve in my development. Yeah, being given that desire, because it was so overwhelming when it first started. I was about 14, I think. Yeah, and I continued to be pretty strong for several years. I guess until I met my husband. Yeah, and it's still there, but I don't know how it will look, and I know that my first duty is to him and to my child and my future children. But I don't know. I pray that there will be some sort of fulfillment of that or opportunity.
So in that time, now, what has marriage taught you about, sacrifice, love, forgiveness?
Yeah, well, I haven't learned this, but I can at least say it, I guess, and keep saying it to myself until, I don't know, it really takes root. But, and this is still hard to say. I kind of have to grit my teeth a little to say it, but I'm the one who has to change, I guess. And I still don't, my heart still says, no, but he has this, and he has that, and these are behaviors that genuinely need to change, or these are things in him that I genuinely want to change, but me first.
Yeah.
And sometimes that feels so unfair. But, yeah, I think it has to be me first.
Kind of going back to the midwife a bit, also in your own personal experience. What role do fathers play in family life from your perspective, especially around childbirth and childbearing? Because, like we're talking about what the way the industry kind of portrays it, at least it's, the husband's sometimes put in a completely separate room. So not even there to see the birth of their child. Maybe that's changed a bit now. But at least when I was growing up, that's how it was mostly portrayed. Nowadays, it seems like they're usually there. But again, they're off to the side, and then the doctors and nurses are usually just
terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that, the deepest union possible of two humans is, what results in a new life being created. And I think that unity is supposed to be reflected in every aspect of, both the process of bringing the baby into the world and also in the family life. The love of a husband and wife is the foundation of the family, and I think that that should always be the case. I don't think it should. It's not even the children. The children are what make it a family. But before that, it was the divine union of two people. And I think that stability and the nurturing of that love and that connection is what allows a family to grow and to function optimally.
Do you have any advice for Orthodox men on how to support their wives, especially maybe like men who are dealing with their first child pre-birth?
Yeah. Just in the marriage in general, I think that women are like little plants. Like we want to be watered often. Maybe like a very needy little plant that needs to be placed in a window and given a little sprinkling instead of just like a giant dousing. Once a month when it's starting to droop and like really the plant is on the brink of death. I think like a regular little sprinkling of water, a regular moistening is much more healthy for this lady plant. So it's small, regular reminders that really, I think, nourish a woman's heart.
So the big grand gesture is when...
Yes, yeah. Or, when she's like, I'm dying over here. Yeah. Show me some love. Yeah, it's the little things.
Yeah, because, all the hormones and emotions that a woman goes through during a pregnancy, one of the biggest ones is like how they feel about their image.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe like a reminder is like, hey, you're not fill in the blank, being a bad thing. Okay, yeah. That's good. This, I know this is probably almost indescribable, but I have to ask. As someone who has helped other women during childbirth, what was it like experiencing it for yourself? Now it's been almost 4 months to think back on.
Oh, I was so unprepared.
Okay.
And I thought I was prepared. I've seen, over 100 births. So I thought I was prepared. I thought my husband needed more preparation, because he was obviously nervous, to put it very mildly, nervous in the very best case, abjectly terrified at the worst points. Yeah, I thought he needed more preparation and education, but boy, I was not prepared. Seeing it from the outside versus experiencing it. Yeah, it's pretty much indescribable, but I think there's also a lot of mental preparation that's available to you, and that maybe I didn't take advantage of because on the one hand, I had seen so many women do it, so I knew I could do it. But yeah, I was not prepared for the intensity. It's genuinely the hardest thing I think a human can experience. I don't know, maybe like breaking every bone in your body would be worse, but this is a natural experience. It's crazy to me to think that like this is something that's meant to happen. This is not something deeply wrong. This is designed to operate this way. But yeah, I guess kind of like I said I don't know if it was in the midwifery part of it, but I genuinely feel like I didn't do it. Like, I don't feel like, yeah, I did it. And now I can do anything. Right. Some women get that feeling because they just did something so incredible and tremendous. I feel like I didn't do it. Like, God must have done it. God must have acted and my body did it without me. But I am now genuinely convinced that anybody can do it. Like, I could do it. anybody can do it.
So how did this experience impact your faith? Did it change how you see God and the Theotokos?
I know that I couldn't have done it without them, and without the fervent prayers of many to them while I was in labor. I had a circle of women who each had a candle that they lit when they were told that I went into labor. And they each prayed before that candle for me, and didn't blow it out until they got the news that I had the baby.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm thankful for them. I do believe that their prayers supported me through the experience. You know, though I didn't have them around me. I mean, that wouldn't way too many people. I didn't have them around me, but I had their prayers covering me at every moment. And I think my mother said this after the birth, that she credits Saint Olga with the life of my baby, and of myself to a degree. I developed preeclampsia at the end of my pregnancy. We don't have to get into all that. It's just a condition of pregnancy, a disease that can be serious. And thank God I was still able to have the baby at home. But when the midwife saw the condition of the placenta, you know, the organ that sustains the baby until it's born, she came to me and she said, "You need to thank God that you didn't have this baby a week later, because he would not have made it another week."
Oh, wow.
He came a week early.
Okay.
And thank God for that.
Yeah.
Because that placenta would not have supported him. And when my mother saw the placenta, she said it was Saint Olga.
Yeah.
Who sustained us. Yeah, because the condition of it just showed that it had deteriorated to the point that it wouldn't have supported the baby. And yeah, my body wasn't able to just support him. So thank God everything went smoothly and beautifully. But yeah, it's thanks to God that it did go that way.
Right.
So yeah, it's very humbling, you know? Yeah, because I guess I expected everything to kind of go beautifully and perfectly. You know, being a first-time mom, being, you know, familiar with birth and how things go in pregnancy, and being in good health going into pregnancy, I expect it to be, you know, a very low-maintenance, easy time. But I think that it's good that it wasn't entirely, because it forced me to depend on God and to lean on God and to be truly grateful, you know, that he allowed the miracle of my son to be here. It's not just it's not something I can take for granted, I guess. Maybe I would have been in danger of taking it for granted because I'm familiar with birth and with the birth world. You know, I see this miracle unfold so often, but I guess it's good that it kind of shook me out of that and jarred me, and made me realize that it's always a gift. It's never my own doing.
You know, talked to some after the birth of the child, and most of these parents do agree that, like, their prayer life changes pretty significantly. You know, some had a very, you know, kind of strict prayer life prior to, and then now all of a sudden, instead of like a 20-minute prayer life, they have a 30-second prayer life. Has that been the same experience for you and your husband as well, or?
Okay, what's funny is that it's actually been the opposite, because I really struggled with discipline in prayer, which, like, okay, yeah, I'm a cradle, whatever, I should have been doing this my whole life. But as an adult, yeah, I really struggled with discipline, with even the daily prayers. But since having my son, I want him to grow up praying. I want him to grow up in a family that prays together and is disciplined about it and does it regularly. So yeah, it's actually been a huge improvement in my prayer life. And yeah, all day, and I'm rocking him to sleep so many times, and there's nothing to do but pray. So it's almost like, well, may as well do evening prayers, Yeah, so it's funny because I know that that's typically how it goes, that it kind of shakes up your schedule. But it's actually been such a gift, and kind of, almost helping regulate it.
Yeah, I think it was Sunday you had him in his little carrier next to you at the chanter stand. Like I can see you kind of rocking it with your foot while you're singing the chants and stuff like that. And it's it was pretty funny. It was pretty adorable to see. Yeah. So, are there any particular prayers, traditions, blessings you found especially meaningful in pregnancy and labor?
There's a prayer. It's just the prayer of a woman with child, okay. I guess, that I printed out, but I memorized it, pretty quickly after saying it every day. And so I prayed that every day of my pregnancy. And I kind of missed it after I had the baby, because it worked its way into my morning prayers, and I'm sure I'll get to pray it again.
Yeah.
But that was really, it's really a lovely, meaningful prayer. It really covers a lot of the physical and spiritual and emotional aspects of pregnancy, and it's a prayer for the baby as well, obviously. And that was really a beautiful way of connecting with my son, even before I knew he was my son.
So, considering my upbringing, when I first started attending this church, I was really surprised about how other children actually interact with other children. Like, I'll see like a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old carrying a 2-year-old. And, I've noticed this community has like a very interesting relationship like that, where children are actually helping the parents with the other children. My own upbringing was not even remotely similar to that, so it was that was probably one of the more shocking things. But now that you are a mother yourself, what has been the most surprising? Well, what's been the most surprising thing about becoming a mother, or just being a mother in general?
Okay, I'm sure this will come, but at this point, 3.5, almost 4 months in, I don't really, I'm not tired of my son. I don't feel like I want to break. And every now and then when I do get a break, he usually doesn't nap for very long, so I'm always holding him during naps. But every now and then he'll take a longer nap by himself, and I can actually, get some things done. And I miss him. It's good that I can actually get some things done so my house doesn't fall into utter disrepair. But I miss him when he's away from me, even when anybody else is holding him. I've had such a longing to be a mother my entire life. It's probably been my deepest and most constant desire. There are other things that I've wanted, like the nun thing when I was a little girl.
Yeah.
But this has been with me my entire life, and it's always been very, very deep, almost very visceral, like a longing to have a baby in my arms, like that physical feeling of yearning. And it's humbling and strange and surprising to have landed here, that I have been granted the deepest desire of my heart, which kind of puts me in awe and fills me with tenderness at how much love God has for me, that he's given this to me. He's literally granted me the deepest desire of my heart. But I also have a little bit of like, well, now what? I'm only 23, like, what else do I do? Just have more babies, I guess. But I'm like, I didn't have a plan beyond this.
Yeah.
Like this has been part of my, 10-year plan, 5-year plan forever. And my visions for my life didn't really extend beyond this, and now I'm here. So I'm trying to enjoy it as much as I can, and it'll probably be in this season for a while. God willing, as I have more children. And I'm sure it'll be different every time, and I'm sure it'll get harder as well. But, thank God.
What wisdom would you want to pass on to your own children about faith and family so far? Maybe in parts of the struggle you had when you were younger, in your teens, and then into your early 20s. Obviously that can change, and that will change in 10 years, 20 years, whatever.
Well, I think that I want to emulate my parents in many ways, in the way that they raised us, with our life revolving around the church. And I know sometimes parents are wary of that because they don't want their children to feel forced to go to church, or they don't want it to become something that the child has a negative relationship with. But I think that, to simplify it, and put it in very basic terms, I think that I've adopted my parents' vision that the family life should revolve around the church. What my parents say is you can only have one first thing in your life. You can have several second things, but only one first thing. And as a family, you have to decide what that's going to be, Is it work? Is it school? For a lot of families, it ends up having to be school. But when there's a conflict between maybe church and school, what comes first? And I think that the proper orientation, I don't know if I should say for everybody. I don't know. I want that to be the orientation of our life, I suppose. I want that. That's our desire for our family. And I'm not quite sure, how that will always look. I think it was, in some regards, a gift to have grown up as the daughter of a priest, because my dad didn't have another obligation besides the church, which is a huge obligation. It's ridiculous, but he didn't have work calling him away, so we could always be together as a family, at church. And I think that will be difficult for my family. And I saw that as a child with other families, that, the parents' work often necessitated being away from church, and that will be painful. But I think the orientation of our life around the church will only be a blessing if we can achieve that. Yeah. Because the church it has the best catechesis. You're taking your children, if you can, to the weekday services, the feast days, celebrating the feast days in your home, fasting together in your home. That teaches you about how to live in the church and how to have a relationship with God. And that kind of stuff is great for children, We wear blue for dormition all together. Go pick out your blue dress. It's the little things that you incorporate into your daily life, I think, that enriches so much.
As we close, I hope what has been shared here encourages you all to see Orthodoxy as something living and personal. As St. Piusius the Athenite says, those who have been raised Orthodox from birth should not take this as a small thing. They must guard this inheritance with gratitude, lest it be lost. All of us together make up the body of Christ, and all of us have something to offer. May God bless you and strengthen you as you continue on the path. Until next time, stay steadfast, stay humble, and thank you for joining us.